Well, my first prediction video went about as well as I thought it would. Every time I do one of these, it either ends up horribly wrong or I just get blasted in the comment section, which is why I hate doing opinion videos. But hey, it's the playoffs. We've got, sports back, so why not? So let's try to reset here. I mean, it wasn't even technically the playoffs; it was the play-in. So I'll get a do-over here. Also, need to address something about just future opinion videos. If you watch my channel quite a bit, in my last video I did about the recent Hut release, I talk about how the Rangers won the draft lottery, which I actually don't think is all that bad. I also mentioned that the Penguins would have been a terrible thing for, hockey in general. Other than the fact that Lafreniere would have gotten paid with Crosby, which I actually kind of think is kind of cool. But I like to see parity in the NHL in sports in general, just as a whole. Then you get guys in my comment section like this. But then the problem is I get guys in my comment section like this. Just another butthurt Penguins hater. So glad they beat your Sharks in the finals. I respond with, my man, the Penguins would literally have hit 100 points. Why would anyone outside of Penguins fans want the best player in the draft to go there? ? He responds, why would anyone want him to go anywhere but the team they root for? Still glad you cried in 16. It's the brain pain, coach. I might as well just dive right in here. I didn't cry in 2016 when the Sharks lost to the Penguins. One, because that was one of the worst Sharks rosters they've ever had in the 18 of 20 years that they made the playoffs. So it wasn't really all that upsetting to me. Sure, it sucked because obviously I'm a Sharks fan. And, then why would I be a butthurt Penguins hater if I only wanted him to go to the Sharks? So really the logic here just doesn't hold up. I wanted him to go to a few teams. One that would be good for him would be, oh my God, this is going to be way worse. I actually wouldn't mind him going to Toronto or the Oilers just because I would have loved to see him play with McDavid or Matthews for the next, 10 years. Well, I mean, Matthews is probably going to leave in 5, but so is McDavid, so I guess that really doesn't really matter. Or, a team that actually needed him, like the Wild or Nashville, because they've just not had a great offensive player outside of Philip Forsberg, who, again, would kind of be in that second tier of superstar. I didn't really want him to go to, Pittsburgh. They've had enough. I want parity in the NHL. You want other teams to win. It makes the sport more interesting. But I understand why this guy just wants to attack anyone that doesn't like the Penguins. Anyways, moving on. Let's go into the predictions today, all right? As the first round will actually start. So the first round is actually going to start later on today, so we might as well just get right into it. VGK in Chicago. In my prior video, I said VGK is actually kind of my favorite to go on because they're just such a great depth and built-round playoff team. I've seen them enough as a Sharks fan. I think that they are super well coached, and if anyone ever got COVID, no matter who they lost, it literally would impact them the least out of any of the remaining playoff teams. Like if Boston were to lose Pasternak, Bergeron, or Marchand, they're kind of toast. But regardless, I'm going to say Vegas here over Chicago. It's a nice story for Chicago. I just still don't think the roster's all that, impressive from the bottom tier, although Kubalik looks incredible. So, I mean, just another fantastic pickup by Chicago. So, as we move on. Colorado versus Arizona. Arizona, great story. I mean, I don't think it was all that big of an upset for them to beat Nashville, but they finally had some success, even though technically it wasn't the playoffs. But they go up against Colorado, who, again, looks pretty stacked top to bottom, and now they have some more playoff experience for that squad. I will say they move on. Dallas and Calgary. This is the one, I really, really think, so one of the picks that in my first round that I was really upset about, just because I don't think I would have gotten it wrong, was I picked Winnipeg over Calgary. I just think that if Scheifele and Laine not gotten hurt, I think they would have won that series. But Dallas doesn't really impress me at all that much either, and Calgary looks good, but I have a feeling it was more because of Winnipeg just running out of bodies, but I like Ben Bishop. Okay, we're going to go pretty chalk here. And then we've got St. Louis and Vancouver. I am super stoked that Vancouver, beat the Wild. They were one of the picks that I got correct. I didn't think the Wild should have even been in the play-in round, and I think they, as well as Montreal, hurt themselves the most, although Montreal hurt themselves even more by actually making the playoffs. This one will be... St. Louis is still one of the best well-rounded squads, so it's pretty chalk here in the West for me. In my opinion, I think the West is kind of super easy. I think the round-robin players will move on, although I think that Vancouver next year is going to be fantastic. All right, on to the East. A team that I got blasted about in the comment section and on Twitter was Philadelphia. So I have, great self-awareness. I can admit when I'm wrong. So I was completely wrong about how Philadelphia looked great going into the stoppage, and then I said that it was horrible timing for them specifically because they were on such a hot streak, and then they stopped, and I wasn't really impressed with their roster. They looked incredible, but again, their games really didn't matter. The round-robin games did not matter. I'm going to argue my own point here. I mean, I guess if they had not gotten first, they would have been up against a far harder opponent, and they got kind of lucky in Montreal because had Pittsburgh won, they would have played Columbus, and I don't really know if they would have beaten Columbus. Regardless, I think Philly is much better than I said them, and I said they were in the first video, and I will give them credit here. If there is one team that Montreal could have gotten that they have a chance against, it would have been Philadelphia, however. But still, they have no business being here. They played incredible. That is why sports is played. That round against Pittsburgh is the reason that we watch sports. It was incredible. I watched every game. I bet on Pittsburgh every night and lost money. But regardless, I'll take Philadelphia in this one. Then we've got Tampa and Columbus. Now, Hedman looks like he might be out, which is super Tampa Bay because I don't know if they've ever had a playoff run where they haven't had one significant injury throughout the whole thing. And man, Columbus looked good against Toronto, but that was almost all Korpisalo. Like, he played incredible. And I don't even think the Leafs played that bad. Sure, they got outwilled, but I do not think they played that bad at all. They pumped Korpisalo, and even Merzlikins when he came in. I will go with Tampa here and say that they will move on based on them exercising their demons. If Hedman is really out, I don't know. I'm not very confident in that one, but I think Tampa will win that. Then we've got Washington versus the Islanders. Part of me tells me that the Islanders, they're just so well coached. I will go with Washington here as well. I think that one will be a long series. Now, Boston versus Carolina. Boston looked terrible in the round-robin games, but again, they don't matter. Carolina, however, looked incredible, and their lineup gets even more healthy. I believe Hamilton checks back in. I am super on board with Carolina, and I think that they will beat Boston in the first round. Again, this is going to get just absolutely roast my comment section, but Boston is not a one-line team, but they're top heavy. Their bottom six are good. They're good grinders. I just think that Carolina top to bottom right now with the moves they made at the deadline just are fantastic, and they have an amazing D core, and if their D can play well against that first line that Boston has, then I think it'll give them a shot, but I could be extremely wrong in that sense as well. Boston's an extremely good team, and we'll see. Okay, moving on to the second round, we've got VGK and St. Louis. I will go with VGK over this one. Again, these two teams are perfectly matched up. I think this could be the best round in the entire playoffs. They are super, they don't have that, top 5 player in the league or top 10 even really. You've got a great top 6 forwards, great bottom 6 forwards, good playoff goaltending, a great defense. I mean, St. Louis kind of has the advantage on defense, but still, I think if this happens, I think it'll be the best playoff round in the entire playoffs. Then moving on to Dallas and Colorado, I cannot see Ben Bishop playing the whole thing. Like, Ben Bishop is the reason why, Tampa, he got hurt, and even Vasilevsky coming into one playoff run. He always gets hurt in the playoffs, and they will need him to be at the top of his game to take on Colorado. I will say Colorado moves on here. Philadelphia and Carolina. Again, Philly, you've impressed me, but this is where it ends. Carolina, I think, has a great built roster for this, and I will take Carolina to move on to the conference final. Tampa Bay and Washington is another. If this is like a just grinded out 7-game, just beat the piss out of each other, this is going to be. I watched their game. Man, that was chippy. That was a great game to watch, their round-robin game, and they both have the offensive horses. And I will say Washington moves on here. So then, in the conference finals, we've got VGK versus Colorado. And I will go with, again, I have to stick with VGK here again, which is unbelievable. They've been in the league for 3 seasons. I think that doesn't get stated enough because of how the first year went where they made the Cup final, and then last year when they, it imploded, controversial as it will, against the Sharks in Game 7. They just are kind of expected to do well now. We will never see this again in pro sports history. A team that immediately comes in from expansion and is just dominant. So, good for them, and I will take VGK to go back to the Cup final. The problem here is that I would love to take Carolina. The other problem is that they could 100% lose to Boston in the first round, which would then obviously destroy my entire bracket. But nonetheless, I will take Carolina to win in the conference final. And the Cup champion, as much as I hate it, I will take the Vegas Golden Knights. I cannot stand it as a Sharks fan. This would actually make me cry. Whoever, back to that comment earlier in my video, that would actually make me cry, but their roster is super fun to watch in the playoffs. It is extremely difficult to beat, and I think that VGK will win the Cup. Enter total goals scored for in the Stanley Cup final. Let's go 5 times 6 games. 30. I will say 34 goals in total. And we are done. Bonus round, select the number of games for these matchups. So VGK versus Chicago, I will go 6. VGK to win. Arizona and Colorado, I will say Colorado in 5. Dallas and Calgary, I will say Dallas in 6. St. Louis and Vancouver, I will say St. Louis in 5. I think these ones will be quick. Philadelphia and Montreal, part of me wants to say this is a sweep, but I will say 6 for Philadelphia. Tampa Bay and Columbus. I think this is over quickly. I think that Tampa Bay exercises all their demons. They win in 5. Washington and the Islanders. I think it's Washington in 5. And then Boston, Carolina. I will say Carolina in 7. And there we go, boys. That is my bracket. Let me know, how much you hate it, how much you like it. I can't wait to battle with all of you, even though I really don't care. Because I'm a Sharks fan, I have no horse in this race. I wanted the Leafs to win because my old man's a diehard Leafs fan, and now I have no horse. And Vegas is who I think will win, and that would be literally the worst-case scenario for me, unless somehow the Kings magically spawned into the playoffs and were able to win the Cup. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section down below, or don't. Give the video a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next round to go over how bad my picks were. See you guys next time.